Well, our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons, has just returned from 2 weeks in Ukraine, and he joins me in the studio to tell us about his mission. Rob, good to see you. You were in the south of Ukraine, especially the region of Mykolaiv, where villages had been occupied for about 9 months, had just been liberated. What was your experience there, and was electricity something that was very scarce?
Yeah, electricity is the big problem at the moment. This is a region that borders Kherson region, which was liberated, as you pointed out, at the beginning of November, and several villages in Mykolaiv as well. We spent a bit of time there with the electricians working to restore the power grid there. Absolutely urgent. 90% of the villages in the area I'm talking about have no electricity whatsoever, and temperatures have been right down to -10 over the last couple of weeks. They've warmed up a bit at the moment, but it's still pretty cold, freezing rain, and the conditions are awful for the workers who are there trying to restore the electricity. They're working in ankle-deep mud. Their trucks keep getting stuck in the mud. They're in areas where there are minefields all around them, so that demining has to be carried out before they can get access to the telegraph poles, so they can get up and repair the wires. So for them, it's awful, but they're working as fast as they can, because the conditions for people living in these villages, many have left, of course, but those that are still there have to put up with awful conditions. As I said, 90% without electricity. And many of them have been without electricity for as long as 9 months. So you can understand what it must be like for those people, and what it must be like for the workers who are trying to repair it in those seriously awful conditions.
Yeah, we were seeing the images of those workers behind you. It looks freezing. Rob, you also mentioned the Kherson region. You went there.
Yeah.
What was it like for inhabitants?
Well, obviously very difficult again. A lot of people have left. A lot of people went with the Russians, people who had supported the Russians in most cases. Those that have left are having to put up with the same problems of electricity cuts, at least 4, 6, 8 hours a day, and often with any sort of notice that it's going to happen, because there's no way that the authorities can give that sort of notice. Sometimes there are 24-hour blackouts, and when that happens, they go to these places called points of invincibility. They're like marquee tents that are set up at different points around the city, where you can go, you can get warmth, you can charge your mobile telephone or your laptop, you can get a cup of coffee, you can chat with people, because it's very lonely. If you're stuck in an apartment which is completely dark, it's great to be able to get out and get some human contact with people, and psychologically it's very, very important for them. There's a lot of anger there as well. I mean, we spent a day with a teacher called Tatiana. She was talking about the conditions she had to put up with. She couldn't go to teach at school because she refused to accept the Russian curriculum. She said she would only teach in Ukrainian and only teach according to the Ukrainian curriculum. That meant she couldn't teach at all except online, which was extremely dangerous for her. If she had been caught, she would have been arrested. And she had nothing but scorn for the Russians and those who, as she put it, were traitors who collaborated with the Russians. That's a big issue at the moment. There's a real move to try and find out who did collaborate, arrest them, and put them on trial. And you see the big posters going up now around the city saying, if you know of anybody who was a traitor, get in touch with us. Call us on this number.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of solidarity, but a lot of tension at the same time. Rob, you also shot a report in Nikopol, which is a hard place to access for journalists. Tell us about how you ended up there.
Yeah, I mean, really tough for the people who live there again. This is just 7 kilometers from Enerhoda, which is where the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is, just across the Dnieper River. I say just across, it's actually 7 kilometers wide at that point, but you can see it in the distance. And of course, because it's so close, they're completely within range of Russian artillery. They get bombarded all the time. Their houses are smashed to pieces in many cases, and they're worried about nuclear pollution if there's an accident at the power plant. Again, we spoke to people there. I met an old lady called Tamara, 83 years old, suffers from Parkinson's disease. I asked, why don't you get out of the city? Why are you staying here? She said, I can't. I've had Parkinson's disease for 20 years. It's really difficult for me to move. I don't have anywhere to go to. And she just said, I have to stay here. And, the windows have been smashed in our house. She said, the Russians always used to talk to us about brotherhood. We were the little brothers and they were the big brothers. What brotherhood is this, she said, when they do this. It's an abomination. I will never forgive them for this.
Gosh, it's incredibly sad, and you met so many strong people. Rob, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for telling us about that mission. I know you yourself had pretty intense living conditions during your time there, so we are very happy to have you back.